Welcome to It's a Woman's World, a show which discusses any and all topics under the sun from a woman's point of view. Today's moderator is Nadia Giordana.
Hello and welcome to It's a Woman's World. I'm Nadia Giordana and I'll be moderating today's episode. Let me introduce my co-host. We have first Candy Pettiford.
Yes.
Hi, Candy.
Hi, I'm glad to be back, Nadia.
Oh, it's fun to have you here. We don't see you nearly often enough.
Well, we'll have to change that.
All right, that sounds
All right.
like a good plan. And then we have Beverly Crosby.
It's great being here. Thanks for inviting me today. I
Very-
always enjoy being on this side of the table.
I know you're usually in the control room helping things pull together and keeping the show on track. So this is great to have you here on this side.
Thank you.
And our guest today is Britta Wilson.
Hi.
Britta, you are a female entrepreneur. Start by telling us a little bit about your business. It's the Iron Violet, is
Yeah.
that right? Okay.
Iron Violet's design studio. So I launched a floral design studio in St. Paul, November 2016.
16?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're. It's been very exciting. I have a full service website, and it's been really great to kind of navigate being a small business owner and being at home and having a job and a family and juggling all of those things all at once, but it's been a really good adventure.
Quick question. Do you manage the website yourself or do you have someone who can help you with that?
I do have help with that, and I think that that's key.
It's a big deal,
It is a
isn't
big
it?
deal.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a big deal. And I am an artist and I am a creative type, which is always very helpful. But the technology which we need as entrepreneurs and as women, we have to be online. We have to find some way of getting our product in front of people. But to do that well and to have a very efficient website, you do have to have help and good help. So I'm very fortunate to have that.
And another real quick question, a Facebook page yet?
Yes, Facebook and
Okay.
Instagram as
Both
well.
those, all
Both
right.
of them, yep. And I've had great success, and I love sharing what I'm doing in the process with my followers. I think it's really important for everyone to see as an artist, no matter what your medium, to show your people what things look like beginning, middle, and end, so that they can actually see it grow organically, be produced organically, and not feel like it's manufactured, and see that there's a heart and soul going into everything. And social media allows us all to do that.
Great.
Okay, Britta, what my memory of Violet is my mother's
Yeah.
African violet that was sitting on the same windowsill for 40
Forever,
years.
yes.
Maybe 20 years, I don't know, a long time. And sometimes I forgot to water that one too. That was the hardiest plant, but it's an African violet. So I imagine there must be a lot more
And it was
other
purple.
varieties
Was it purple?
It was, and it was
Yeah.
purple. So
Yeah.
are there other colors?
Yeah,
And-
very many different colors of African violets, different textures. Some have ruffled edges, bicolored, purple and white, purple and yellow. There's pink,
Fuzzy
solid white,
leaves.
fuzzy leaves. Yep. So those are all those indoor varieties that you can have on your shelf. And there's a very interesting kind of double-layered pot that I have luck with with violets in my home. So next time you're at your local garden center, ask them for an African violet pot, and your success rate will increase dramatically, getting that plant to rebloom over and over again. But then there's also outdoor varieties of annuals and perennials in the violet family as well.
What's in that pot? You say the pot. Is there something in there that helps it to grow?
It's a nested pot. So you have your glazed ceramic bowl,
Okay.
and then the plant is in a bare or raw ceramic container, and that nests inside, and then the water fills that reservoir in
Sure.
between the two, and the plant drinks what it needs when it needs it. Because the other interesting thing about violets is that they hate to have water on their tops, on their leaves, and on their foliage. So if you're watering your violets from the top, you're probably going to get a lot of leaf droppage
Oh, no.
and less blooming. But if you water from underneath, which just takes very careful attention to do that with a normal pot, it's definitely possible. But these special African violet pots, you fill the reservoir, place the plant inside on top of it, and then you don't ever have to worry about that contamination
that.
and
That might be
causing
fun
those
to
issues.
do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can order them online too, if you can't find them locally.
Another question, when a customer orders an arrangement of African or whatever violets they are, what do you add? I mean, I just see this purple flower, but what do you add in an arrangement?
Well, you always have to have a base, and texture is very important to me. So if we're doing a designer's choice, I'll always try and find out if somebody wants big and tall and showy, or short and compact and contemporary, and then that will help kind of dictate the types of flowers and the style that we're going to do. But accenting with local greenery, different kinds of textures. I love things like green trick dianthus, which is in the carnation family. It's bright green. It looks like a fuzzy ball with all these little spikes on it, and
Say
they
that
last.
name again.
Green trick dianthus.
Oh, wow.
And they look great with purple, as purple being Iron
purple
Violet's
and
kind of
green.
signature color. So I love doing things in greens and purples. Excuse me. And yeah, and so it's about customizing each piece to the client and finding out exactly what it is that they need for the gift they're giving or for their own home as far as space and size and color.
Like if we were doing something for here,
Right.
it would be wide
And
and
low.
low. The same as it would be for maybe a dinner table.
For a dinner table,
Right.
for a wedding, for an event,
Right.
you have to get up over people's heads or underneath their sight line. Because the minute you're putting something right in front like that, then they're just gonna, well, it's gonna be irritating and it's gonna end
Sure
up on
is.
the floor.
Oh,
Because
boy.
people will just get up, pick them up and put them right on the floor.
Ooh.
Because you don't wanna block the conversation.
Sure.
You're
That's
there to
exactly
enjoy
right.
people's company. So that's a key thing to keep in mind when you're putting together a dinner party, to have the size appropriate table decor.
So weddings, birthday parties,
Yep.
Valentine's.
Yep, every day.
Valentine's? What do you do
yeah.
for Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day, you'd think it's all roses, 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 but I'm really grateful that a lot of my clientele are finding some things that include roses, but some also things that are just out of the ordinary,
Yeah.
that they know they can customize to the person.
To the person.
To
That's
the
good.
person. Don't send roses to someone if she doesn't like them.
roses.
And don't send her red just because it's Valentine's Day.
True.
If she loves pink, send her pink. And tulips are always a great thing that time of year because it's dark and it's cold.
Right.
So we want something to remind us that spring is just
It's
around
coming.
the corner. Tropicals also are a lot of fun, so I always do a lot of tropicals that time of year, and for Valentine's Day they're good too.
Bird of Paradise.
Yes.
That's one of
Yeah.
my favorites.
Yes.
Yes. I want to ask about, now we talked beforehand about your children.
Yeah,
Are your children involved in this? at all?
absolutely.
Give me
Sometimes
a little bit, well, how are they
Sometimes
involved?
because they want to, and sometimes because it's just what you do when you have a small family
There
business.
you go.
Everybody helps. And my kids, they come on wedding installs with me. They come on
Ah.
deliveries with me. My kids are 9 and 7. Brody is the older one, and Violet, Iron Violets, is named after my little Violet. She has a will of iron.
Yes.
And so she knows how to put a vase together.
Oh,
And
wow.
she cleans buckets, and they make boxes, and they put stickers on bags, and they're hands on, and it's really quite a blessing. And I'm counting the days till
Yes.
they lose interest, but I'm really enjoying it right now.
Why are you counting the days for them to lose interest?
I feel like at some point in a child's life, hanging out with mom,
Okay. All right.
having to work for her for free is going to stop being fun. Being realistic is all.
Yeah.
Mama's little helper
But
grows up.
maybe I'll luck out and it'll be like, I can imagine sending, 17-year-old Brody out on a teardown,
Yeah.
late at
Oh,
night so that I
absolutely.
can stay home with my feet up. That would be, I can't wait for that to
That's
happen.
right. For them to maybe take over the business, like it so much.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's named after your daughter,
Yeah.
Iron Violet. Well,
Yeah.
she might want to take over, huh?
Maybe.
Ooh.
She does say that she wants to do Art in Bloom, which I do every year at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. They do that in the spring every year. And she's been very involved the last few years in my designs and she loves going. And this year she said, I want to do it, Mom. And I said, we can do it together. And she's considering that, but I think she might try and just go on her own.
Talk a little bit
Really?
about that event.
Yeah.
So Art and Bloom, they pair professional and non-professional gardeners and floral enthusiasts with masterpieces of artwork at the Minneapolis Institute of
like
Art.
that.
And for a full weekend, it's free of charge. We bring in beautiful pieces that we've created out of fresh product to showcase and to represent the artwork that we've been assigned. And I've done that now for 5 years, I think. Some people have been doing it for well over a decade. And the Minneapolis portion of Art in Bloom, and they do it nationwide at different museums.
Okay.
The Minnesota MIA one is the biggest in the country, as far as I understand. They have the most pieces and the largest participation, sometimes over 200 to 250 participants, different
Wow.
showcasing different artworks.
Are you saying vendors?
Yes, different
Whoa.
people going, and anybody can do it. You choose a piece, go on to the Friends MIA, Friends Arts MIA, I believe it is, .org, and you can get on their mailing list, and they'll send you an email and let you know
wow.
when selection days are, and then you can go and pick a piece and have your artwork,
What?
your floral artwork in the
That's
museum
Great.
for 3 days.
Very interesting. How
Wow.
did you get started? Did we?
Yeah, no, we didn't talk about that yet. My very first job in high school was just making boxes and bows and things like that. And then I ended up going to the University of Minnesota Duluth for theater and had a lot of fun doing that. Moved down here and decided that being a starving artist was not really in my wheelhouse. So I was looking through the paper one day and needing to find a job, and I'm also not from Minnesota originally. So I said to a friend of mine, I want to work at a flower shop. What's Bachman's? I'd never heard of it.
What's Bach? Oh, that's something.
And she said, oh, you'll love it. You should go there. And I thought I would go and apply and maybe work at the register like I had before. But I lucked out, and I had enough experience with what I'd done that I got a job working there seasonally
Wow.
in the production room. And that was down back in 2004. And so I did that for about a year, and then that gave me the confidence to go to another professional shop and work and learn a little bit more there, and then to another one, and then one thing after another.
Is learning on the job with flower arranging, is that the most common way? There's really no classes for this, or are there?
There are. The Kohler and Dram Institute of Floral Design, they do have, that's the local wholesaler down on Hennepin. They have a series of classes where you can become certified. And then there are some technical colleges that are offering some classes. Unfortunately, one of the programs did close this year, so that's too bad. But I was lucky enough to learn on the job and to have people willing to take me under their
Which
wing.
is the real deal.
That's right.
Under their wing and show me how they do it and how it's done. And so and I read a lot of books and I follow a lot of blogs and I just try and stay on top of the trends as much as possible. And it's been, over 10 years now, and however many hundreds of weddings and events.
You sound like you've got a lot going on. What about you teaching?
I do like doing classes. I was the floral designer at Linder's, which is where I
sure,
learned
Linder's.
to love plants and horticulture more than I had appreciated it before being there. And so they would have festival days and showcase days and things, and they'd say, hey, teach a class. And so
There
I
you
do a
go.
little how to turn your market bunch into a beautiful centerpiece, and it was one of my favorite things to do. I really love doing that. So
Okay.
You focused on violets.
yeah.
Why did you focus on violets opposed to other flowers?
Well, the violet was the name that my husband and I chose for the business because of our daughter. My grandmother's name was also Viola, and she had a very large garden and was a big inspiration to me as a child. So that's kind of where the business name came from. It grew from that family history and from my daughter. And we are lucky here in Minnesota of having some of the most diverse wholesalers in the nation. So I, at my fingertips, have access to thousands and thousands of different kinds of flowers every day.
Wow.
If I ever think about moving, I know that this business model doesn't translate to a different city
Oh.
because because they don't. I wouldn't have access to the same product. Right now, my studio is less than 6 miles from where I buy my product fresh, and most of the time I'm buying it to order. So I get an order. My orders come in off my website, and I say, oh, I need tulips and roses and some hydrangea for this special order that someone's just placed with me. And I get in the car and I run out and I get everything for them fresh. And that's a great way to have long-lasting product and have good high-quality product. But that's only possible because I have those wholesalers right here in the metro. And so many other places, you have to ship everything in from overseas or from out of state, or it's just too long of a journey to run around every, So I'm very fortunate, and I've been lucky.
I have a question, Britta. Roses, and sometimes I see roses that have a wire up the stem, and sometimes I don't. Tell us what that's done for and why you see part of the time and part of the time not.
Sometimes we have flowers that have developed through breeding or on their own that have very heavy heads. The bloom is heavily weighted, and the stem isn't strong enough to support it. So we put a wire in those to keep that head upright so that the water flow can continue from the vase all the way up through the top of the stem. It's very popular with Gerber daisies and also with sunflowers to keep those heads straight so that they last longer and to not block the flow of water to the bloom.
Oh, okay, so it's not that the roses, to keep them from drooping as they get older, it has to do with the specific kinds of flowers that have heavier heads.
Right, yes, and so you'll see that with a lot of garden variety roses as well. And then
Okay.
sometimes the wire is even decorative. So you'll have the dark green wire, which is almost hidden, or sometimes it can be taped over the top to hide it. But then you can have this really pretty aluminum wire in bright colors, and then that's working as a structural aspect, but also as an aesthetic point as well. So it's a pretty wire to look at, and it's also serving a purpose.
I want to ask a question about this. Sounds kind of strange, but do you have plants that eat flies?
There are carnivorous plants, so you're
They're
thinking
called carnivorous.
Carnivorous plants, yes. So you're thinking about like a Venus flytrap. Yep. My son is a huge fan of those. 2 years ago for his birthday, I bought some Venus flytraps and made a beautiful terrarium in a beautiful glass candy jar. And we put in some of his favorite figures from his favorite video games and some colored moss and some rocks. And then he goes outside and he puts cracker crumbs on the sidewalk and collects ants and then shakes the ants in there, and we watch them climb all over the plant and watch the mouths snap shut. And so those are really fun things, especially for kids.
Oh, great.
It's good for kids to get excited and find
About
plants
nature,
interesting
yeah.
and fascinating that way.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I also love air plants. I don't know if you've ever heard about Tillandsia. They're in
What's that?
the orchid and the bromeliad family. I love making terrariums. I don't just make the carnivorous plant terrariums. These are air plants. It's a plant that grows in the rainforest, and it's a symbiotic relationship with the trees. It attaches to the tree via a few anchoring roots. It's not getting any nutrients from those roots, and it gets all the nutrients it needs with water and sunlight. And so these are plants that I get from a grower out of California, and some of them can be teeny tiny little baby ones, and some of them can be as big as a dinner plate, and you can pick them up and throw them around like a football. They have no soil. They need water and sunlight, and that's it. And so I love using those, and I get those in my home as often as I can.
Would they be okay? Would they be happy in an office environment?
Yes, because they also do very well with low light. You'd think because it's a tropical plant, it needs bright light. But these plants originate then from under the canopy. So they're just getting filtered sunlight through the canopy. So they do very well in artificial light. Low light is ideal, so some natural sunlight is best. And then all you do is spray them with a water bottle or rinse them under the sink for a few seconds once a week, and that's it.
Sounds like I might have done the right thing with my mother's violet.
Yeah.
Once a week, that was my job.
Yep.
I water the plants. But you do flower arrangements, but
Yeah.
then you also offer a lot of plants.
Yes.
For those of us who don't know very much about taking care of them, what kind of advice
Sure.
can you give us?
The thing I think most of the time is less is more. Most of the time when somebody would bring us a plant, I'd say, you're fussing with it too much. Too much water, too much sunlight. My African violet and my orchid plants usually continue to bloom because I forget about them. And they're kind of tucked back there on my plant shelf, and the next thing you know, there's this sprout coming up, and I've got big, beautiful Phalaenopsis blooms. Houseplants generally need to be watered once a week. Cacti once a month. They need very, very little water, and that does depend on the variety from time to time. But for the most part, less is more.
Is an African violet, and I shouldn't say that specific kind because,
That's okay.
again, you've
Yeah.
talked about many different types of violets. Are they indoor, outdoor plants? Or both?
Indoor.
Total-
There are outdoor varieties of violets, more annual perennial types, but they're not the same as an African violet. And the African violet should stay outside in the Minnesota climates especially. Too much rain, they'd get root rot if you left them outside on your patio. And then obviously, too cold when the temperature drops.
So they're better left indoors or
Yes,
outdoors? Indoors.
inside,
Okay,
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So now thinking about that air plant you were talking
Right.
about, we were talking also about the African violet, where if you pour the water on the leaves, it doesn't like that. Does the air?
No,
does
they
the
absorb all.
leaves or
Yep, they absorb all their moisture through the air, through their leaves.
through the air?
Yes. So, and it's a vase of a plant, so you'll see that there's a center to them, and they're all very different. So the rainwater would drip down out of the canopy and then collect in the center, the vase of the plant, but also the humidity out of the air, which is another reason why having air plants in your bathroom or kitchen where there's natural running water, steam from the shower, dishwasher, boiling water, those plants, a little bit of sunlight in any of those rooms, those plants do very well. You might be able to cut your watering time down to once every 14, every 20 days, depending on how often that shower's running.
And then you mentioned about the cactus.
Yeah.
Okay, you say once a month. When you do it once a month, are you really dousing it, really giving it a lot for that once a month, or?
It does depend on the size. Larger plants need more water, but if you have a little 4 or 6 inch type size plant, you really just want 1/4 cup of water
Oh, really?
once a month. They're desert plants. Your plant will tell you when it needs water. You'll start to see that the foliage will get soft or start to look a little shrunken. It can hold so much water from time to time. So all you really have to do is just replenish that, once a month so that it stays firm and succulent.
And they flower too, don't they?
They can, yeah, absolutely. With the right amount of sunlight, they can.
And different colors?
Yeah,
or-
pinks, whites, purples, yellows.
Really?
Yep.
And a cactus?
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, we're getting into the fall season.
Yes.
And a lot more fussing with indoor plants and indoor plants as gifts. I think about the Christmas cactus and how what is it about that plant I think there's some new varieties out now that bloom at different times
There
of
is
the year, in the
yes.
fall and spring. Is that correct?
I don't know about the fall, but there's
Okay.
definitely an Easter cactus.
Okay.
And those tend to be more pastel in color. So they've cycled those to react to the time of year in Easter time so that you get those blooms. But your Christmas cactus can bloom year round. It would just depend on sunlight and fertilization.
They make nice gifts.
Yes, they do. They're very durable, long-lasting plants. So those are always very nice.
That'd be good in the office too?
I think so.
With sunlight, they will need
With
more
sun-
sunlight.
they'll need more
Yes.
sunlight.
Yeah. Anything that's blooming needs more sunlight than a green plant.
Okay.
Green plants can do very well. You'll see different kinds of croton and peace lilies and things like that, schiffoleras inside a shopping mall with no sunlight at all, and those will do very well there for months.
What about those little grow lights? Is that what they call
Yeah.
them? I'm not sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So artificial light can help. We use those in the studio as well in the winter months to keep our blooming plants well stocked with sunlight. So they definitely work. And your local garden centers can guide you on those as well.
Now, Britta, when are you going to start wearing a flower in your hair? We talked a little bit about that. When do you think you're going to do that?
I think now that it's here and it's been recorded, I might not be able to make a public appearance without a flower in my hair from now on.
Exactly. That would be your signature.
It could be, and I think it's a great idea. Yeah, I should. It's all about branding, and as an entrepreneur, that's something to keep in mind, that
Absolutely.
you always have to remember what your brand is and how to remind people of it.
What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense? A nice purple flower in
Yeah.
her hair.
Yep. Purple's definitely my favorite color, and it has been since I was a young girl too.
Oh, see.
So it all comes around.
Yeah.
It does.
one way or
It does
another.
come around. Wow.
Interesting.
Is there much of a trend of working artificial pieces into and in with the natural flowers, or is there not so much? Sometimes it seems like that might be needed if someone has a preference and it's
Sure.
the wrong season.
Right,
or-
and that is, we can definitely find really high-quality silks nowadays.
I've seen some.
Yeah, and it used to be everything was so plasticky and fake and artificial looking, but there's very high-quality silks. Sometimes even after all these years, I have to touch it to be sure.
I've been
Wow.
I've been
So-
somewhere that I had to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. So you can get really great product for anything that you need year-round, and you can accent it with real things. I like incorporating dried and fresh together.
Oh, dried.
Dried
yes.
lotus pods, pine cones, wheat, cattails, especially this time of year. Anything with a lot of texture, you know, and just a lot of natural textures and things are always good in the fall.
Dried makes sense because it's still a little bit more natural.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
Well, this has been really great,
Oh,
Britta. It's so good to have you on the show today. I think we're all learning things.
Oh, I've learned so much.
And me too.
Me
Good.
too. It's great. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
And thank you all for watching us today on It's a Woman's World. We'll see you again next time.